Welcome to Level Up with Wellness Mastery. This is the place where you learn how to transform your body to its natural state with Wellness Mastery. Hi, I'm your host, CJ Powers, and today on Level Up with Wellness Mastery, we are being sponsored by Legendary Life and the incredible Dr. Ken. Dr. Ken has had incredible amounts of experience with hundreds of patients, over 30 years with clinical experiences in chiropractic, nutrition, movement therapy, and life coaching. As a result, he has found a specific way to maximize your energy, performance, and longevity. He uses the method called Eat Right, Move Right, Be Right. And today we get to introduce you to Dr. Ken and learn the secrets behind the success. Dr. Ken, how are you doing today?
Fabulously, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. One of the things I wanted to do right away is just jump in and talk about some of the problems and issues that a lot of people are facing. We hear that, oh, the diet wasn't working, or I'm afraid to overdo the exercise and hurt myself, or the aches and pains, I just don't know if I'm doing it right. There's emotional eating, there's all kinds of issues. Most of the people saying temporary fixes. But I know that you've gone through quite a bit to make sure that there's actual results involved so that they have peak energy, that they can sleep better at night, their digestion works, and on the list goes. Can you give me a little bit of a background on how you developed this and why it's so successful?
Yeah, I have a background in a lot of different disciplines, and one day I realized it's like, you know what, I'm a really good resource for people, particularly folks who are looking to maximize their energy performance and wellness for a long, healthy life. And in order to do that, we needed to have some procedures and methodology that, if applied consistently, was going to work. So I dug into my toolbox and started, researching the things that we had, what was available, also by studies out there, and put it all together to have the program that we have right now.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I think probably everybody I've heard talk about things, and the word temporary seems to be a part of it almost all the time. Why is it that your system is not temporary? Or can you give away that part of the secret?
Well, sure. The real big change for people is the acceptance that healthy living is a lifestyle. It's not just, hey, I've got this particular symptom and I'm going to try this thing for a day or 2 to 3 weeks. You have to understand, what is it that's going to take to make a mind, a body, a spirit work continuously throughout all the years that you're going to be on the planet. And that's what I teach over and over again.
Yeah, well, that actually sounds good because I want longevity myself. That's the one I'm going for. Now, when we were talking last time about this program and how you've developed it and so on, the thing that really stood out to me is that you constantly are looking for feedback from the person and their body and their movements and so on to refine the process as you go. And my understanding is that that all starts out with doing a full blown analysis. Can you talk about how the analysis part works out and how you get people started with that?
Yeah, so there's no doubt that we're going to put people through some technological tests, just like you would with any other healthcare practitioner. But before that, one of the things that really sets us apart is the life coaching model, where we're able to find out what's most important to that person at their particular stage of life. What is it that they're looking to accomplish now? And then what does, like, for instance, the last 10 years of their life look like? They have to, get into their imagination to be able to
Sure.
kind of start crafting that picture for themselves. But once we have that and are able to determine from those conversations, is this person even a candidate for the work that we're going to do? Then we'll jump into doing the physical analysis. And that begins like it does with other practitioners, as far as getting somebody with their blood pressure. That's an important baseline for how things are working, and then going into the body composition analysis. And one of the things that's really different about how I focus on body composition is I am a lot more interested in the muscle development on the body than other people are. People hear body composition. A lot of times they're just thinking about, well, what's the fat on my body? Well,
Sure.
the fat really, the person for the most part is just wearing the fat unless it's getting into the internal organs, which we call the dangerous visceral fat. So we also measure that. So we look at the muscle development in the arms, the legs, and the trunk, and we can see whether that person has enough muscle development to actually carry their frame. So we have that. We look at the distribution of the fat in the body, arms, legs, trunk, and again, is it in or around the internal organs? We'll
Yeah.
look at the water balance within the body. The water is supposed 2/3 of your water is supposed to be inside your cells, 1/3 out. When that ratio gets changed, people go into what we call the inflammation stage, and a lot of times people are hurting because of inflammation. They take a pill, and it's only helping them on a short period of time. Whereas we can adjust somebody's diet to specifically get the water back into the cells. So that's really important. Next stage from there, after we look at this, and the other thing, CJ, which is like super, is just like when somebody steps into an X-ray machine and the picture just takes a split second, the
Right.
body composition test only takes about 2 minutes, and we get all this valuable information in there. Next thing is going into the physical exam. And you and I had talked about this before, that when I was going through my medical training, this is over 40 years ago, we're looking at, we were being instructed that a good physical exam is where every doctor should start. And it's only after the physical exam that you would order the tests. And the tests are specifically to figure out whether your suspicions are correct or is there something else going on. But a good clinician knows what's going on with their client just from the physical exam. And unfortunately, in today's world, that ratio has completely like flipped over. In the 2020s, people will go to the
Yeah.
doctor and they'll talk to them for a few minutes. They won't even get barely touched by the physician, and then they order 8 to 10 tests, and they try to put the clinical picture back together through the results of the tests, as
Um,
opposed to looking for the how the body is functioning and then confirming the information with the tests. So our physical exam starts with somebody with their posture. We move into a movement analysis. In big terms, we call it orthopedic testing. How are the joints, the muscles, the tendons working? On a chiropractic side, the spinal analysis is super important because your brain and spinal cord control and coordinate all the functions of the body. So if there's any disruption in that signaling, that's going to be a problem. So we take the person, through that. There are some specialized nerve tests that we also use. Um, What's really different about our physical exam is about 20 years ago, I was exposed to some ideas about the developmental cycle of walking. And basically, what that means is that when a child is born, it knows how to breathe, poop, and roll over. Right? Then it starts to like lift up its head, and then it starts getting its movement a little bit more coordinated, right? And goes through the crawling stage into the walking, and then the running. And each one of those stages requires a certain type of circuitry from the brain to the body part. And we're
sure.
able to analyze that. How well is that person actually signaling in their brain through the spinal cord to the body parts and back? So we get all this great information. And that's really left out in, again, most examinations nowadays.
Wow.
Uh, so once we see that person is stable, right, physically stable, we can take them into a functional capacity evaluation. And I think I may have told you this before. I used to be really mortified. Like I would see people going for their first visits at a place, one of these big gyms,
Yeah.
and they would actually put people through tests that were breaking that person's body down and proving to that person about like, oh well, yeah, of course you're in terrible shape. Well, that's not necessary. What you need to be able to figure out from a functional capacity evaluation is what's the flexibility, or that fancy word that we're using nowadays, mobility, right? That's the flexibility and the coordination of movement together. So that's mobility. We want to be able to assess that. You could take a group of people. I'm in my 60s now. You take a matched group of people, and people who can touch their toes and the people who can't. The people who can touch their toes statistically are going to outlive the people who can't. That's how important this flexibility or
Wow.
mobility there is. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, in the testing, what we need to know is how strong is the body. Now that's arms, legs, trunk. Again, testing each of those things, and we have 10
Yeah.
specific tests that are able to measure those things, so that we know 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, a year down the road, how is the person performing relative to the baseline that they came in with, and also that all gives us the information as to what type of exercises we can actually start somebody with. The third factor for longevity is the person's capacity to use oxygen. And we know that people are going to the gyms and they're doing aerobics. They're going to aerobics classes. And that's fantastic. It's super important. But what we want to know with a 4-minute test, right? How much oxygen is that person able to process within that 4 minute period of time? And again, that creates a baseline for us, so that when we take somebody through the procedures, which we'll talk about in a bit, right? How is this person measuring up? Are they moving more into their longevity indicators, or are they just staying flat? And unfortunately, today, most people in the gyms are doing the same routines over and over and over, getting the same results. And in some cases, they're actually doing exercises which are flattening their results, which is amazing. Person is exercising on a regular basis, and they're actually, in a sense, hurting themselves.
And I think you can spot some of them without too much problem in this day and age.
Mhm.
But what you're saying here that I'm hearing loud and clear is that there is a longevity factor, that you have these longevity indicators that can give you a quick idea of how long the person is going to last. I'm assuming since you have those indicators and since you know how to build the person for those indicators, it means that you can extend their longevity. Is that true?
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. What we want to do is build those behaviors that are specifically going to get that person to a healthy long life. It's not enough just to live long. You have to be healthy while you're living those years. And
Yeah.
and so that's what we want to do. We want to maximize, keep somebody as well as they can for as long as they can.
All right. Well, let's take a look a little bit closer. I mean, this was the analysis part, and it sounds like before we move on, I should probably state that this analysis to determine where they're at currently, their current condition, whether it be body composition or their physical fitness or the longevity indicators, that's all a snapshot for the most part that you build off of. You have it priced at only $400. Now, I know that just the amount of things that you listed, most tests from a medical standpoint would be 3 times that amount. How
Easily.
exactly are you? How exactly are you keeping it at $400? I mean, certainly I know you have a heart for people and you want to help them, but that's a big discount, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe this for many, many years now, is that the most important thing is being able to figure out what's going on with somebody and whether they're a candidate for the type of care that I provide. I do not want the first step to be the barrier to the decision. It should be the stepping off point. So this analysis is going to take about 90 to 120 minutes. It's an hour and a half to 2 hours. And what I've done is I've moved aside the cost of the technology as much as possible, and basically I'm doing this at a little bit of a loss. And again, if somebody comes on in and they get this information, they know where they're at. That's the first most important thing. From there, a person can make a decision as to what they want to do, and we're going to look at a few different programs as far as what's appropriate for somebody. But now they can make a decision, because at that point, the person is going to be making an investment in themselves. There's no doubt about that. But we never want the initial exam to be a barrier to this.
Yeah, and I think let's dive right into this because Frankly, I think all of it is priced incredibly well. But you have the three key factors to this program to eat right, move right, and be right. The eat right, as I understand it, helps us to learn how to fuel our bodies with, as you call it, real food, whole
Hmm.
foods, things of that nature. The moving right is all about that strength and stability. And I think you mentioned lifelong mobility earlier. And then the be right, this is the one that's kind of interesting to me. Of course, we'll start with the eat right, but the be right, we're talking about mastering stress and finding ways of, having our life shine more and our stresses dim down, so to speak. But let's jump in first with the eat right. So with eat right, you have a list of things here, but before we go into them, I really need to make mention of the fact that down at the bottom it says it's a 4 month program. Can you really get results in 4 months? Can I actually see the results and be like, wow, I made a great investment?
Absolutely. And so the reality about each of these programs is they're tailored to the natural physiology of the body. So your body will, you could take some type of nutrient, you could take something that's not, the best for you, even some alcohol, right, in your system, and you could feel something change today. However, for your cell structure to make the changes that are necessary, you need the 90 to 120 days to actually impact that structure. You have to feed the body, allow those nutrients to uptake into the cell structure. And now, as they are utilizing those good nutrients, their functional level starts to increase. As the functional level increases, the cell itself is getting healthier and healthier. So it's not just a matter of running a cell better. It's running that cell better and healthier for the long term. So that way, right, we can get to that next stage of deciding, hey, do I want to continue with this or not? The
Yeah.
big changes happen for people within this particular period of time. And then hopefully, right, through the accompaniment that we provide for them, we've helped them to understand how important this is. They feel the difference in their body, and it becomes a natural thing to say, you know what, I want to keep up this lifestyle forever.
Yeah, and you keep on mentioning lifestyle, so I'm starting to get that. It's starting to sink in that you're really
Mhm.
telling us how to change our life so that we're automatically headed in the right direction on a daily basis. But talk us through just a little bit how the Eat Right program works. What kinds of things can we expect from it, and how does it function? Because I know you have like a food tracker and stuff as well. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So even though we're gonna talk about nutrition, right? The first step, just like within the analysis, right, is being able to determine that person's why. Why do they want to be on a nutrition program, right?
Sure.
Is it to lose fat off the body? Is it in order to get the workouts to be better for them? Is it for somebody to just transition from a junk food diet to a healthy food diet because they've heard that that's important? So again, being able to figure out specifically what somebody's goals are and being able to match that up. Then the next thing in there is from the analysis that we've done,
Hmm.
we know specifically the levels of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, fiber, and water that that person needs. Those are the big five, right? We need to be able to tailor that for that particular person. So you could take the same person. I'm 5'7" and 180 pounds. You could take another person of the same size, and they literally could be needing a completely different ratio of
Sure.
nutrients. Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we know those nutrients, we have to be able to create a dietary system for them. So that's, again, coming into the whole foods, we need recipes, right? And we can tailor those recipes to Italian style eating, Mediterranean style eating, Asian style eating, right? This is one of the great benefits of this program. It's not just, oh, take these particular formulas. The person starts to understand, I need these nutrients which are available to me in XYZ food groups. I
Sure.
learn how to combine those food groups, right? And I start to get the shifts, the changes in the body, which I'm looking for. Now, what's really, really interesting, CJ, is that most people who start on a program with me,
Hmm.
within 2 to 3 weeks, because their body is responding, we start to change those ratios. So we come back within 2 weeks, we do another body composition test, we can see how their system is changing and then make any particular changes that they need. So usually over this particular period of time, the 3 to 4 months of the program, we will have changed their nutrient profile 3 or 4 times. So this is something which is really different. We also have one of the most profound, high tech systems to be able to track somebody as far as their nutrition. That tracker is literally linked right to our body composition analyzer, and it's also linked to me. So we share a platform together. So we call the High Touch Coaching Platform, and I can see what is the person doing, right? And as you know, you and I have talked before, I'm looking for what are they doing that's right,
Yeah.
right? So in the beginning, we might need to be based on the test. A person may not be very good at being able to get water in their system. So I'm just going to hold them accountable to adding water to their system each day. Then we'll take a next step and we'll start focusing on starting to move the protein factors to where they need to be.
Yeah.
Then we'll get into moving the carbohydrates and the fats into the right ratios. So this is really a different system. Anybody can take a test with a machine that's going to spit out, oh, eat these macros, and then they think they're good,
Yeah.
right? But as your body is shifting and healing, it ought to need a more high-powered nutrient system, and we provide it.
Yeah, that's really great. And that's all within the monthly costs, then I'm assuming. Any of that retesting that you need to do, it's all built in.
Yes, the retesting is built in there. Me being able to track what's going on with them, having conversations with them. So, for instance, when somebody gets started with me, I'm gonna
Mhm.
I'm gonna have a conversation with them on the phone every week for the first 4 weeks. Then we're gonna go bi-weekly. And what happens is the person realizes, wow, I've got somebody in my corner who not only is like coaching me and saying, yeah, let's go, let's make it, but
Yeah.
also being able to help that person understand what their foods are, right? How it's impacting their body, because we can see it, right? We can see it on their charts. How is this person doing,
That's
right?
amazing. Yeah, that's
It really
great.
is.
Okay, well let's move over to the move right, because certainly if we're eating the right foods, we still need to move around, and I'm assuming you're going to have some kind of resistance training here, or weights, or aerobics, or maybe a combination of everything. What does this look like today?
Okay, so what this looks like is first steps are foundations. Okay, so when you build a house, you pretty much you have to dig out and level the ground and then put the foundation in there,
Yeah.
and that's the first thing is getting the foundations in place. That's being able to get somebody into some levels of baseline mobility, right, and also starting to get some aerobic movement, get them the person being able to breathe deeper, more efficiently.
Yeah.
So foundations work. Typically, those workouts are in the 45-minute range, and the person progresses through what we call our basic eight. Then we go into lower eight, upper eight, focusing on the core of the body. Right. So we need to establish that level of mobility to get full range of motion. So if you were to hop right on into doing the resistance training,
Hmm.
a lot of times the person's muscles are already shortened. They don't have the full mobility that they're supposed to. So there's
Yeah.
no way to get peak efficiency from those muscles. So we want to make sure that we've got the elasticity built back into the muscles, that natural movement in there, and also pain-free movement. Because the worst thing that you could do is actually have some hidden pain in a joint that isn't mobile, and you start to add weight to it, and now what happens is you start to break the tendons and the joints down
Hmm.
instead of building them back up healthy. Right. So as you see in that line there, it says science built workouts. We do not do things just based on, traditional exercise. These are exercises which we know enhance a person's longevity, and we do them in the order that actually promotes their health. As I was saying to you before, a lot of people, and I'm working with a 74-year-old woman right now who was doing almost all cardio exercise. And as we took her through her examination, it was really pretty clear that she was actually doing things that were hurting her body. And she's like, but wait a minute, I like a Zumba class, and I like dance aerobics and things like that.
Sure.
And yeah, and it's like, yes, it's nice to move, but you're not actually doing things for your body in a way that's going to get you to the long, healthy life you want. You're actually in a position right now where your body is breaking down because of the exercises that you're doing. People who who have just cardio work as the base, as their foundation,
Mhm.
literally will shift their hormones towards more of a breakdown mode versus a buildup mode. That's what we call anabolism, getting the body to build up. So we want all of our procedures to focus on moving a person into their best level of mobility, and then being able to add on top of that, right? The oxygen capacity and the physical force. You must move weights. There's no way to do this. You have to move into resistance training at a particular point,
Sure.
right? Because the muscles have to respond to a physical load on them. And if
Yeah.
you do that, if you do it right and you do it in the right sequencing, the person's going to get the results they want. And I remember you were asking me about this. You saw people moving in. It's like they don't seem to do these exercises as long or as many as I see other people doing things in the gym.
Right.
And that's because what we know from scientific workouts is you can literally do a particular exercise just doing 5 reps of resistant exercise, doing it the right way with the right pace, the right amount of rest, and then move into the next set. And people are like, I can't believe how my muscles feel 2, 3 days later
Yeah.
after doing this short type of work. And so we get a whole lot done within those 45-minute sessions.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the talk at gyms are all based on history. This is the way we've always done it. And
Mhm.
it sounds like the way you are now doing it is not only scientific, but it's also based on what their body is currently at. And I'm assuming the exercises change as their bodies improve as well, then.
Absolutely. And not only that, one of the things that's gone on now in the last 3 to 5 years is this acknowledgement that men and women are different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, as one researcher, puts it, for years, women were just regarded as small men. Well, how a woman's body works and what it responds to exercise wise is different than a man's body. With women, you must feed them before and after exercise within a 30-minute period of time if you're going to get the best results from the strength training.
Wow.
Otherwise, again, if you don't know this, person could be putting in all this good time with strength training, but then they're not actually feeding their body for success. So this is where the like an eat right and a move right will come together.
Sure. Well, and that brings us to the next category too. Let's talk about the be right. Now, everyone understands the concept of mastering stress because every one of us needs to learn how to calm down in this day and age.
Mhm.
But you go a step further. You're not just talking about that, but you're talking about excelling in life and things of that nature. Some of your items here look like it's much more medical oriented. And yet, at the same time, it sounds like it's more life giving as well. Can you explain the Be Right program to us?
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, when people hear about stress, they're usually thinking about just this mental and emotional component that, oh, it's stressful to me. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Well, that can be part of it. In my way of looking at things, stress is the amount of data and how well a person is processing that data, right? And we all know nowadays, and with all the internet and everything else, there's more information coming at people, more obligations in their work and their family life than ever before, right? So a person needs to be able to have a healthy way to adapt to all of those signals which are coming at them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do is, again, looking at what's most important to somebody so that they can actually filter, right, these stressors that are coming into them. All this data is being processed, right? So the processor for this, again, is the nervous system. So what we're going to do is a combination between doing body work with the person to pull the stresses out. Most people who've had a massage will tell you, "Oh, I feel so much more relaxed." Well, that's great, but you could also take something like an antidepressant pill and you go, "Oh, I feel much more relaxed."
Sure.
You need to be able to have that based on something. So again, when we look in the physical exam and we're able to see how is this body, right? Is there a tense factor to it? Are the muscles super tight? Are the tendons sore or not? Right? Are the joints able to move the way that they're supposed to? So in our type of body work, what we're doing is systematically pulling out each of those stressors from the areas where they've kind of settled into. So that's one thing. The other part of this is also looking at something called heart rate variability. So nowadays people are wearing things like Fitbits and whatnot.
Yes.
The most advanced versions of these are giving people this information, which is called the HRV, and you can literally train somebody through focusing on the right things when they get up in the morning, checking at the end of the day how they've done
Mhm.
with their obligations, so to speak, for the day,
Right.
right? And then also take look at the measurement. You don't want to look at the HRV throughout the day. It's not like looking for the time. It's what happens from a day to day basis. What is the pattern?
Yeah.
Okay, over a period of time. So we use that as really the best method to be able to say, is this person adapting to their stress or not? Not just are they thinking and feeling better about it, but is it actually showing up within the tissues of the body? So what's really different again about my approach with this is we do take it from a standpoint of the life coaching side of things, of finding out what's most important to somebody so that they can create for themselves plans of action to move forward, to only be focusing on those things which are most important to them and putting to the side the things which are not working well for them. And then combining that with a physical program that also is taking the tensions out of the body. So this way the person's really processing things well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And let's just do a quick review here on the eat right. You're going to make sure what's going into the body is healthy and is going to keep them fueled up for the strength they need. The move right is going to be functional mobility first and moving into strength building and anything else along those lines. And then in the be right, it's really pretty much going after, knocking down the stress, making life manageable, and helping people know how to relax and when to relax. So I think we should probably take that and now say, if I wanted to do it all, is there a better way? And of course, yes, the other option is your Wellness Mastery course. Now, instead of it being something where you see results in 4 months and it only being $500 a month, now we're talking about a 12-month program at $1,200 a month. So it's stepped up significantly. Obviously, it includes the Eat Right, Move Right, and Be Right, but far more than that. Can you give us an understanding of, what is it about this portion that allows us to literally see our lives transformed?
Yeah. So one of the things that I mentioned to you early on was being able to determine, who's the right person for a particular program, or, is this right for them at all? So the person, in our conversation could just say, what's really important to me right now is just to get my nutrition in line. So we put them into a program like that. But then we've got those people who they just know, hey, this is the most important thing that I can do is at this stage of my life, whether I'm 40 years old or 65 years old, I need to be able to have a system that's going to work for me for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
right? I want, as I get older, I want to be able to travel the world. As I get older, I want to be able to play with my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, right? That one I hear all the time. Why
Oh
is
yeah.
it that you want to be healthy, be well? It's family. Family's so important.
Yeah.
So once we have that understanding with this person that this is something that they're really looking for a transformational change, what we're going to do is take them through a program that is sequenced differently. So, for instance, with any one of the other three programs, we're just working that program consistently for that 4 month period of time. In this one, we're going to use the 3+10 quarterly growth plan. So essentially, what that means is that we start out with all that wonderful information that we got from the beginning,
Sure.
right? And then we sequence it so that that person in a 10-week period of time has a set of procedures and goals that they're aiming for during that time, right? So again, that might be I need to learn the basics of the nutrition while I'm moving into my exercise program, and then we might be doing in that particular case a lot of stress management work, right? So again, this is where the individual part comes in.
Sure.
But the key thing is that what I've seen with every person that I've ever worked with who wants really to change is we need to create flow in that person's life. So things are not moving the way that they want. We have to be able to figure out what's going on, get the goals, and move into that stage of flow. We work really, really hard for those 10 weeks, and then come back and we assess where the person's at. Next, what we're going to do is look at, well, what is this person's life potential? What are they looking for? Ultimately, say for instance, you've got this person, and this has happened before, where they go, well, you know what? I love my dog, and I want to be able to walk my dog when I'm 90 years old. Right? It might be
Sure.
a different dog at that particular point, right? And they don't even think the average 90-year-old person, even in really good shape, is probably not going to be chasing after a Great Dane. It's probably going to be a smaller dog, right?
Yeah.
So this is a funny example of a person being able to actually stack into their procedures what's going to be the most important thing. I need to move into more flexibility and mobility, and we're going to embrace that person's potential within this particular period of time, and we're going to probably see the most amount of growth in that second quarter there, because the person is really matching up their procedures into right what's most important to them. The third level from here in the third quarter,
Hmm.
as a person's capacity now has really moved up, the person is seeing benefits happening across the board, and it's not just in the physical body. They're seeing these things within their family structure. Their person is really gotten the most important things, like they're resting really well. They're doing their morning routine on a regular basis. They're following through on their nutritional program. They're being able to focus on at the end of the day what we call the examination, the daily exam. Being able to say, hey, I put all these things in place. Is it really working for me? And then the other key with this is the consistent coaching calls that we do with the person,
Yeah.
right? All the way along the line, having an expert level of accompaniment so that this person at the end of their year knows the whole system. It's like going to Legendary Life University. Within
There
a
you go.
1 year
Sure.
period of time, all the things which I have learned and mastered over a 40-year process is pretty much downloaded, right? And now being utilized by that person so they're prepared to take care of themselves for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key things as far as, my perspective goes on this thing. I'm convinced that if you can actually develop a program, which you clearly have, that gets a person to not only experience the transformation, which you handle in the first 4 months, but then you grow them, educate them, do it in a way where they can start mastering their own life. And you've talked about it turning into a lifestyle. And I get that. That makes total sense.
Mhm.
But then a step further, it actually sounds to me like you're working yourself out of a job. Like once they get really good at it, frankly, they don't need you anymore.
Well, that's true. To a certain extent, the person is going to be able to take care of themselves, and that's ultimately what we want. But if somebody was able to do the level of transformation that I'm offering, and
Hmm.
that person shifts, I tend to find that they're really, really happy with the results, and they can't help but talk to their friends, their family members, their coworkers. They
Yeah.
naturally just send the next person in, and besides that, I'm always an ongoing resource for that person, regardless of where they're at within their life.
Yeah.
And, I've told this story to people over and over again. They may not know this, but if you look at a grand piano, it doesn't matter if that grand piano is being played, by the master piano player, or it's being banged on by a child, or it's just sitting there collecting dust. No matter what, that piano needs to get tuned on a regular basis. So
Right.
there's always a level that we are as a resource for our clients over the long haul, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, right, because they know how to take care of themselves now, CJ, right? They're the happiest people on the planet.
Exactly. And that's the good news. In fact, I collected up a handful of testimonials here from some of your clients when I was out visiting. One said, "For the first time, I'm in control of my body." Now, we haven't really talked about the control factor, but clearly, if we're getting the mobility, if we're getting all the full movement and things of that nature, it makes sense that we actually gain control of our body as well.
Mhm.
Then one person said, after years of failure, I'm proud of my healthy self. And this woman happened to be one of those that were like, temporary diet, temporary diet, temporary diet. And
Mhm.
suddenly she's like, I'm free, finally free. And then Sarah said, I can keep up with my grandkids. She was one of those that just wanted to be able to roll around on the floor. And that's pretty hard to do after a certain age unless you are actually fit. And clearly, she had everything it takes to live accordingly. Now, I know these clients all got incredible, wonderful experiences from you, but I have a feeling that you got something out of it too. Do you want to talk about any kind of reciprocal type thing that happens in this process?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've devoted my life to being helping people out, doing better and better, and that started out with just helping people with some of the temporary things that they were dealing with, that suffering I seen for a period of time, and then again realizing that the things that I was doing myself was leading me in a way that you know if you found those people when I was 45 and most of my peers were falling behind me, it's like, well, this is not good, and
Yeah.
start to see it. And so I'm actually pushed to stay in the best shape possible because it's not just keeping up with grandkids, it's keeping up with a whole bunch of adults who are doing really well for themselves at this particular point,
Yeah.
right? And it's very, very gratifying to work with people in this way, to get to see people getting the results, to have people make that transformation between from the temporary to the permanent. And I've told this story to people over the years. Most people spend way more time planning, right, a 1 to 2 week vacation,
Yeah.
or planning a 1 day event like a marriage, and they put all this focus and all this energy into it for something that's going to be over within a short period of time,
Yeah.
right? The level of thinking is actually the same. It's just where the point of focus is. Are we focusing on just being better today, or are we focusing on being better for a lifetime? If we're focusing on being better for a lifetime, it's just natural that other things like the staying mobile, the eating right, the managing my mindset, right? Those
Yeah.
become natural factors within, right, that person's plan. because
And
they're seeing things from that different perspective.
yeah, and I really like the fact that your coaching includes regular sessions where you're talking through mindset issues. There was recently, and I do mean recently, like just within the last couple days, uh, a new survey came out where a lot of people on Instagram and TikTok were all asked questions. And out of all the issues that people are facing today, they say the number one thing they need more than anything else is help with their mindset. So the fact that that's incorporated into this entire program that you built, and you built it in before mindset concepts were even cool.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great thing. Now, let's just cut to the chase here. You know, people have a choice to either do nothing or they can transform their body, right? If they do nothing, they're going to still say things like, I will never change. And believe me, I've heard that one more times than not. Or, you know, oh, my age is catching up with me. Oh, you know, and there's always moaning and groaning associated with it, which I've never understood. But then on the other side of things, you know, I love it when people say, yeah, people always think I'm younger than I actually am. Because to me, that, well, it's almost like you know, you're in that situation where you have to prove your program works by making sure it continues to work for you as well. So whenever we have something working where someone can say, I feel great every single morning, or, you know, I've kept the weight off. It wasn't temporary anymore. Now it's permanent. Those are tremendous testimonials as well in of themselves, all by taking the action and moving forward to transform their body back to the way it was meant to be. And your program definitely does that. I'm understanding correctly, I believe, when I say that you're willing to just do the full-blown analysis for people without anything else, just to help them so they know who they are and where they're at and where they stand. That's the $400 thing for the analysis. Is that still open? Are you willing to do just the analysis, whether or not they ever say hello to you again or not?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. You know, this is for a person to not just, you know, go say within themselves, "Ah, I just don't feel so well," but to understand, you know, what are the factors that are going on in their body that are preventing them from really living the life of their dreams.
Yeah.
This is huge. And what we found is that typically by somebody making a phone call, and just starting with that, we start to understand, hey, what's most important to you? And if it's finding out what's going on, and person wants to start today, they want to start next month, whatever the reason is, or not at all, I'm just grateful for the fact that I've had this this chance to be able to help somebody impact their life and start moving forward.
And I think it's a wonderful program. I'm going to have to sign up myself, no doubt. The thing here is that you're somewhat limited in that you're located in Oak Brook, Illinois, and this program is pretty much for anyone within a short driving distance of Oak Brook. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say I've got people who come, probably at the most about 30 to 45 minutes away. Some people work in the area,
Sure.
but definitely, the vast majority of my clients are within about 10 to 15 minutes of here.
So if they give you a phone call and they say, I want to learn more about this, you're going to offer them the $400 package for the analysis. You're also going to talk through, I assume, how the program would then work for them based on their body and how their analysis comes out. What is that experience like? Is that an in-person meeting for the machine and all that kind of stuff for the analysis, and then a phone consultation afterwards, or do you do it in the same day? What are the different ways you handle that?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that phone call. So we have an opportunity to just figure out, where this person's at, what they're looking for, and whether this at all would be appropriate for them. And there's no charge for having a telephone consultation with somebody. That next step from there, once somebody decides, hey, I want to do the analysis, they need to be prepared for a rather intensive, experience. Just like if somebody was going to leave the Chicago area and go up to Minnesota to the Mayo Clinic, right? They're not taking that drive up there, just for some tiny little thing. They're going through a thorough analysis, and that's what we do at Legendary Life. It's a thorough analysis. It takes, again, like I said earlier today, it's usually about 90 to 120 minutes. At the end of that period of time, I'm going to present to them a report, and we're going to talk about whether this is something that they want to move forward with and take some action or not. And if they don't, no hard feelings. But the vast majority of people, at the point when they decide, hey, I want to do something, they're leaning in this direction. When we get on the phone call with somebody and they meet somebody who can really relate to them heart to heart,
Yeah.
about their life and what's going on, if they feel comfortable with that, there's a darn good chance that they're already on their way to making a transformation.
And yeah, and that's definitely a good thing. And let's give them a little encouragement along the way. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, Dr. Ken, I really appreciate you being on the show today. This was a wonderful opportunity to get to know about your Wellness Mastery program, also the Eat Right, the Move Right, and the Be Right portion of it, which is kind of at the core of it all, including the wonderful analysis so they know exactly where they stand at all times. And then, of course, being able to do the mastery program. So, frankly, they don't need you anymore. But anyway, thank you so much. Any closing words that you'd like to share?
No, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to talk about this type of work and helping people move forward with their lives. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.